I think, Katrina, the question you are asking goes to the very heart of this book, which really is an explicitly posed question. What is the difference between a successful state and a struggling one? The difference is governance.
Yeah.
And whether it's FATA, it's part of the governance issue. So in my own chapter, for example, I look at our history, but I also then look at the future and say that if you have representative politics, democratic politics which continues to pivot around patronage and working the spoil system, then it is inherently unable to deliver the needs and aspirations of the people. So that must change, and I think, as Dr. Riffat said, what we are advocating is a path of bold reforms in every sphere, whether it's political, electoral, economic, structural reform, that addresses Pakistan's systemic and fundamental challenges, because without a course of bold reforms, we will simply plod on, and that is no longer an option, and that's something that I argue in my own chapter.
Yeah.
It is no longer Pakistan's problems are so severe, its challenges are so imposing, that in order for us to...
Yes. Well, while you're talking,
yes.
I'm sorry, I can't help interrupting you here because my despondency factor is kicking in. Because I'm going, yes, that totally agree with you, but I don't see the governance. I don't see that bold leadership, the far reach, the creative, if I can use the word leadership.
You know, sometimes when you are in a leaderless moment, an idea has to substitute for a leader. And that idea needs to then be mobilized and galvanize people behind it. And then you have a kind of a collective leadership rather than a single leader. I think this entire sort of time that many of us spend in yearning for this single messiah or leader who will come and deliver us all, actually, frankly, is an alibi also for inaction on our part.
Sure.
We are privileged in the sense that we had access to education, and therefore that puts us or makes us part of the intelligentsia in this country. We have to lead public opinion. If we lead public opinion, then we must live up to that challenge. Living up to that challenge means that we actually seize control of what we can seize control of, and therefore be more active citizens. I think that this country's middle class has grown in size, it is much more assertive, it is more self-confident. I also think our politics is lagging behind.
It is.
Some of these extraordinary changes that have occurred in our society, part of which we saw in the lawyers' movement, some of which we see in your program. The role of the broadcast media, the role of female anchors in the broadcast media, it's changing the way that the citizens relate to the state. Now, if we are changing the dynamic between state and citizen, politics has to change too.
It seems like the winds of change have bypassed Parliament completely.
We have to influence the political parties to be more oriented towards policy and not patronage, to think of people as people and not just people as supporters who have to be rewarded, but as citizens whose needs have to be incorporated and reflected in policy. That's basically what
bottom line, really. But here's the tricky part which I'm going to throw to both of you now here. It is easy, Mr. Hussain, it is very easy to continue the status quo. It is easy to not bring about any change and let things continue. That's the easy way out. And unfortunately, I think the easy way out is to carry on what Dr. Lodhi is saying, the system of patronage, the whole structure that has been in place for years and years and years. It just suits them not to change it.
Well, how the change will come? That's a major issue. You're right, absolutely.
There's a little voice in my head going Tunisia, Egypt, you know. I mean,
look, actually, Pakistan
I know it's not relevant.
We cannot, we cannot draw a parallel.
No, we can't.
Because Pakistan has gone through that phase. Pakistan and the democratic movement, the political movement in Pakistan has always been very strong. And we have seen actually much powerful and forceful public movement here. We have seen only 3 years ago the lawyers' movement,
absolutely.
And it has achieved hugely. So what I feel actually there are several ways for change. One is through a process, and the other is through revolution. And I think the things, one cannot actually, socially is not possible that the things can remain static. They keep changing. Their pace may be very slow, but the social changes have occurred. Pakistan is not the same Pakistan which was about 40 years ago or maybe 30 years ago.
Or even 10 years ago.
And even 10 years
ago.
ago. There is still a problem, but if you see the society is changing. maybe slowly. We need to move much faster.
But politics is not changing
it's not
as
keeping
fast.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, this is what I'm saying. Socially, there has been social changes, there has been economic changes, But basically, the politics of the country does not actually go with the social changes. In fact, it does not reflect the social changes which have occurred in this area. And that is a major problem. The problem is that we still, a large part of the country is still under the domination of feudal lords. And so whenever even the elections cannot change even the political dynamics of that. Same families, about 200 to 300 families keep coming in a different way.
And one thing I just want to add here, it's not just in Sindh. Feudalism is associated predominantly, but in Punjab we have, you can give it, call them landlords, if not feudal vaderas, but the concepts continue. The industrialists I found of Punjab are developing the same power structures.
There's a new money class which had emerged over the last few years, and they are now dominating the politics of central Punjab.
Exactly.
So, but how, the problem is that it only could change through a political process. If you don't allow the political process to continue, you can never expect a change. The thing is that the other way, people can also, a lot of people talk about revolution. Well, actually, yes, actually there's a huge discontent in the country. People are talking about revolution, but can revolution take place?
No,
Pakistan has...
we don't have all the factors in place that trigger revolution.
Who is going to lead that revolution? And basically, for any revolution, you need to have an ideology. Without ideology, if any upheaval will lead to a more anarchy. And so, so we have to have, should have actually, maybe we all want actually the change to take place. But I think it can come through the people movement. If the people are empowered, if the people are aware of their problem, if the people actually are conscious of those problems, I think change have already started occurring.